Good evening, everyone, and I hope everybody had a happy New Year and happy holidays. So we'll go ahead and start with our monthly meeting. Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Alpine, Texas will hold regular meeting at 5:30 p.m. on Thursday, January the 4th, 2018, in the City Council Chambers at 803 West High in the City of Alpine, Texas, for the purpose of considering the tax agenda. This notice is posted pursuant to the Texas Open Meeting Act, Section 551.043, Texas Government Code. Public notice. The use of cell phones and sound-activated pages are prohibited at the City Council chamber during the meeting. So if you have any, please mute them. I left mine in my office and we'll do all again. Okay, members of the audience, we provide an opportunity to address the council during public hearings and during action items. Please speak into the microphone located at the podium and state your name and address. If you have a petition or other information pertaining to your subject, please present it to the city secretary. State law generally prohibits the council from discussing or taking any action on any issue not included on the agenda. But if appropriate, the council may schedule a topic for future discussion or refer the matter to staff. No personal attacks on council members or city staff will be allowed. The mayor may call a point of order to stop personal attacks. If individual continues to personally attack elected officials or staff members in the meeting, they may be barred from speaking at future meetings. So, call this meeting to order now. And we'll have the invocation, and it will be led by the Reverend AlpineCityCouncil01.
Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight because we're very grateful. We're grateful for the people who have come to this meeting, for the privilege of being able to participate in our government. Dear Heavenly Father, we pray that you would be with the council members tonight as they consider the agenda. Dear Heavenly Father, help them to have both judgment and wisdom and knowledge and make good decisions. We pray, dear Lord, for our city. It's beloved by those who are here in the light, and the people in it are beloved. Dear Lord, there may be those who are cold during this cold spell and are needy. Dear Heavenly Father, help us to reach out to them and to make sure that their needs are met. Be with us all during this time. I ask in the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen. Thank you very much. Pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
City Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Mayor, we do have a quorum this evening, and the notice was posted at 4 p.m. on December 21st, 2017.
Okay, we have no presentations or recognitions or proclamations, correct?
Correct.
Okay. City Mayor report, I have none, and I'll turn it over to the city manager. Jessica Garza.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and members of the community and the audience. Thank you all so much for being here. It's not often that I get to do this in front of a almost packed house. So it's good to see that y'all are here. Officially, my first day was December 1st. My first day in the office was December 4th. And 2 days later, we had snowstorm. I did not bring the snow with me. It was not my fault. But I did spend that first week meeting with the executive team, the assistant city managers, the city secretary, with the mayor and many of the council members, as well as other department heads. The winter storm, as many of you know, caused rolling brownouts. One of the things that came up during that week is that we do not have a formal emergency operations plan. and we do not have an emergency management plan for evacuations. And so that's another element that I've kind of worked into a process with fire and emergency management coordinator, is to get those plans in place so that the next time something happens, whether it's icy roads, rolling brownouts, a wildfire, train derailment, God forbid, there's a plan in place that people know how to follow and where they can go for assistance. We did have some issues with some residents that were on dialysis machines and breathing machines that kind of really accentuated the need to have a plan, because we didn't have a plan for evacuation for those residents. And in the end, it was a business owner and a doctor who jumped in and allowed us to use their generators to keep those houses going. So it really is important that we have this in place and we know what our resources are and where we need to go when something similar happens. Week 2, Eric was here, and he was kind enough to introduce me to a dozen other people. If you're in the audience and I met you that week, it was a whirlwind week. I'm very sorry if I don't say a little, remember your name. From the library to the hospital district, people in Martha. We spent Tuesday on a bus going all the way to Presidio. So it was a very large range of organizations and people that I met with while Eric was here. We did get a chance to sit down and talk with the Texas Ranger, who kind of gave some insight on some of the past issues, which was really good for me to kind of get a better understanding of the history of the office itself. Maybe not so much of Alpine, but at least of the office and why we're at where we're at right now. And so that was really good. Week 3, continued meeting with other departments and public stakeholders. Reached out to some community members. I attended the planning and zoning meeting, and we met with Chris Ruggia. What was his name?
Chris is here.
Chris is here. There you are. You know what I mean? I've been through time already. So good. Who is that? In fact, he was here today. That's really bad. So we're looking at putting together an Alpine experience to promote Alpine in different types of experiences. If it's art and history, if it's outdoors, or if it's just shopping, and use those experiences to continue to draw people in, as well as just the events that we hold regularly. Met with the county judge, Commissioner Garrett, Councilman Fitzgerald, as well as the city secretary, to go over some of the issues with the fire department and emergency services. I had another meeting with them today, and I think we're moving forward. It's the way I explained it to someone earlier is I'm taking a spider web, I'm trying to untangle it, but keep everything together so that we can put it back in a functional form. And so I think the parties are all willing, but there are little issues that we're going to have to overcome to see this all the way through. We had 3 potholes that were reported. All 3 of them were fixed that same week, so I don't know if it's just timing or if it was me, but I'll take credit for it. We did have a couple of others that are still pending that came in late in that week right before Christmas, and they were being addressed this week. So I don't want to encourage you to call me for potholes, because I know there's a lot of potholes, but Jay and I have been talking about a plan to start addressing them faster and more regularly. We even talked this afternoon about a process to follow through with the work orders to make sure that they were complete and are signed off before we're told they're done. You all have a list of issues and priorities that were discussed. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but it's for you to see if there's something on there that you have a question about. Please come and see me. These are the issues and items that came up during the weeks with the different stakeholders, as well as with yourselves. And I know some of them we've kind of revisited once or twice since we had our initial meeting. And we're going to start putting together a plan to address these, or at least bring you up to date, on any progress that we're making on some of these issues, or what our options are, if there are any options to resolving these issues. And that concludes my report. If anyone has questions.
Who are the people who donated the generators? I think they should be publicly acknowledged.
It was Dr. The doctor behind that couple of curtains. And the owner is
It's harmless.
sure.
Oh, God.
Bob Ward and Dr.
Billy.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Bill. Yeah. I just thought they should have public record. Okay, that's all.
Any other questions?
I guess of all of these things that you've got on the list, what are the top 2 or 3, if there are? There may not be. I'm just trying to get some sense about, as you think about your priorities with that.
I think something that came up a lot was employee relations and morale. And so that is definitely a priority in getting not completed, but more complete policies for the employees to follow, something that is not vague, that's left to interpretation, so that people don't feel that they're being singled out or left out. There are some things in there that to me seem kind of odd. There's on-call, but only on-call for certain departments, even though other departments have on-call. But it's not really defined as to what happens during a holiday on-call. And I probably had about a good 4 or 5 people come in during the week before Christmas wanting to know, well, I'm on call, how does this work out for them? So kind of clarifying those kind of things. I think there's an opportunity to work with the employees to find out, what they feel as an organization we can be doing better for them, or if we're lacking. We definitely need training programs. And one of the things that I want to implement is requiring all employees to have at least 40 hours of training throughout the year, so that it's noted at the time of their annual evaluation, as well as in order to be eligible for a merit increase or promotion. Our mission statement, if there's quality service. And if we aren't doing regular training, then we're not providing quality service. And it's the least we can do to the residents is make sure we do our part to make sure our employees know what best practices are, safe practices, and are able to provide that service. So HR is one. I think the other one is going to be emergency services and dealing with the emergency management plan, the issues with the fire department, kind of making some clearer lines between the fire department and the ambulance service, our relationship with the county in those agreements. And I think we had an issue with First Flight, because I have First Flight on this, but again, what are the parameters that they work with us under, and how can we get that to work better for us?
And the First Flight issue was the day of the freeze that we were trying to transport the people that were on dialysis machines that were going to start at 2100 and couldn't have interrupted services. We were trying to get them to the dialysis center in Fort Stockton, and First Flight was not available. So we didn't have a backup. So that's when the generators came in place, where people were asking for anybody in it, we're ready to have generators. And that's probably something else we need to look at, is for the city to consider purchasing a generator.
So the original plan that day was, well, we can evacuate and you put them in the Civic Center during the rolling brownouts, but then it turned out, well, we don't have a gas heater. So it wasn't going to do us any good to have them here because we weren't going to have heat. So we do need to look at a generator or connecting some sort of heating system back up to the gas services, because there is gas. I'm sorry, I said it does need to get fixed so that we can use it and it can be effective.
Yeah, and my sense is that will all be part of your, the emergency management plan that gets put together.
Yes.
So that's
your report. Thank you very much. Hearings, we have none. And we'll go to consent agenda, minutes, financial reports, department written reports, board appointments, etc. Notice to the public, the following items are routine administrative nature. The council has been furnished with background and support material for each item and or it has been discussed at a previous meeting. All items will be acted upon by one vote without being discussed separately unless requested by council member, in which event items or items will immediately be withdrawn for individual consideration in its normal sequence. After items not requiring such discussion has been acted upon, the remaining items will be adopted by one vote. City manager.
Item A is approval of minutes from city council meeting on December 5th, 2017.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as written.
Yes, sir. Motion been made and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote on it. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Let's move on to information or discussion items. Discussion. Traffic situation on 6th Street and Lockhart. Councilmember Curry.
Okay, I had received an email from a resident that lived on 6th and Lockhart, and she was saying about the traffic because of the right turns on Sauce and 5th, all that traffic has moved to 6th and Lockhart, and so she was saying that the traffic right there, it's gotten, like the people that are driving their kids to school, they've been driving really fast in there. Anyway, she was asking if we could consider some sort of something to make it safer. And you guys have the email that she sent me, and she made a couple of suggestions. But I think that you would also we got another email to the city, not just to me. And I didn't know if you guys had seen that one too. The other email from I guess her neighbor, complaining, saying the same thing, that the street was it was dangerous. People were driving too fast, and thought we could at least bring it up and talk about it, and that's it really.
Yeah, I live right there, about 2 3 blocks from there, and traffic has gotten horrendous on Lockhart between 5th and 6th. And as it is, it gets a lot of heavy usage from Morrison, people coming through there, and that street just gets tore up to no end. Now, on the newspaper, on a regular basis, I put about the speeding to address the speeding issue, and nothing has been done about it. And I know I've talked to a couple of the APD folks about that they need to start getting out there. But of course, I don't have the power; I'm not their boss. But that's an issue that we need to address. There's a lot of speed any time of the day, Holland Avenue E or other streets. That traffic is just crazy. So we need to address that. It's getting just out of control.
So it's probably worthwhile after the same issue. So that's the biggest complaint I get in terms of people speeding, in the 5th Ward, the same thing, particularly down Avenue. And the challenge over there is with school, what we talked about, we put in place to prevent accidents because there were blind spots. Taking away parking was another issue. So it's probably worthwhile. And, you almost look and say, are we getting enough traffic that we need to have a traffic study done and take a look at that. I know that she put the camera there on 5th and Saw Loss as one way to start gathering data, but it's probably worthwhile to almost have kind of a discussion on this, maybe a workshop to go figure out what our options are.
Yeah, right there on 6th and 5th, between on Lockhart and 5th Street. Whenever there's church on Sundays or Wednesdays, you have blind spots there also. And it's worse because you got the Morrison's Garden Center, and then you got traffic where you got cars parked on both sides of the street. So it makes it a pretty dangerous situation there. I think more so than we did on 5th and Saw Loss. So I think, you're right. We need to do a workshop on that and try to get a game plan going to alleviate that. And it is an issue during the school season with all the cars double parked sometimes and in a hurry to pick up the kids. And the only APD we have is usually on 5th Street and Avenue was it Brown Street, I think, Sweet
Right,
Brown.
it's down there, yeah, by the crosswalk.
And so everything else is wide open. You know,
So do we have a recommended date for the workshop?
Well, I think this is probably maybe the city manager, you talk with Russell and figure out what the thoughts are. I mean, it's what I call a good news, bad news story. The good news is, you know, our sales taxes are up, our hot funding's up, we got more people coming in town. Challenge is, we have more people coming in town. And we're just not used to ground over this. So that's probably worthwhile to have a discussion. I think we ought to look to just get figure out what the right time is for that. And it probably makes sense for everybody to gather some data. I know he's got the tools to do that. So, for, you know, traffic, volumes and things like that.
Yeah, I also agree that to move forward with the traffic workshop discussions, because we have our share of speeders along Gallegos Drive.
Oh, God, yes.
And it seems they speed to stop sign to stop sign. And we've had a few accidents and a few mishaps. And one big concern is pedestrians crossing, especially church, some of the main avenue areas. And also, there's a tremendous amount of wildlife crossing roads at night. And so that's something to be addressed.
Well, my constituents explain about the people not stopping at Middle School Road in Del Rio. Because, you know, it's kind of a straight shot from 14 out Cherry, you know? Yeah. And that's dangerous. I mean, we got little kids going. They're still kids. You know? I agree. There's several streets that need that. Like Gallegos is one of them too. Yeah, you're right.
So then maybe we should set up a workshop. We can discuss it.
Yeah.
Well, that's, you know, so maybe at the next meeting, you just kind of give us an update about what you think that might be, and what's going to take.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Okay. B, review and discuss the schedule of reports to be presented for the year.
Thanks, Mayor. So I thought it worthwhile to pull together a list that you have in your packages, a list of reports to council. You know, there are 21. If you include all the boards and commissions, that takes us up to 27. Would be on the potential list to have presentations made. My sense it was worthwhile, one, put a list together, and thanks to our city secretary, she's the one that kind of cobbled all together with the list, and which was helpful about all the things that get scheduled out of all of our meetings. And so we think we've got, you know, our basically 23 meetings we have each year. You know, getting these lined up, I think, would be helpful for all of us. And so I thought it worthwhile put the list together. I think the key from our question is there any on the list that we don't think should be on there, or are there any that should be added?
I looked at the list the other day and it's pretty well concise. The only thing that I'd recommend is to have whoever heads these departments or committees, that they could make the presentation themselves.
Oh, I would agree with that.
Because, you know, in the past, we've had representatives and we ask them questions and they're not familiar with it. So I think we should have the heads participate in this.
Also, too, if we have all 23 of them, it ought to be staggered. And if we're going to have 23 at a time, we're going to be here till the next morning.
Well,
Common sense will stick with it.
yes, so that raises the question, quarterly reports or annual reports, I mean quarterly, so 4 times 26 is over 100, and we only have, how many meetings a year? 23? So that's probably more than we want to have in terms of on a quarterly basis. Yeah, so given that, you know, one of the questions is, you know, should some be just written reports? We ask them for some updates, we can go through them. That might be an approach. I think the ones we definitely want to talk to the boards and commissions. I think updates from, you know, code enforcement, you know, what I'll call the safety ones, fire safety, police, you know, then, you know, visitor center, the court, and then clearly the financials on a monthly basis. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So would you schedule them?
Yeah, so, you know, Cynthia will work it, and I'll work with her to make sure that it happens.
Very good. Thank you.
Because I think it's very important.
Anything else on that?
No.
Yes. On the monthly financials, you're talking income and expense reports, not actual financials. Okay.
I think Megan does an excellent job putting together reports in our packets.
Okay, item C. Review and discuss the status of Alpine Vision Plan.
So item C was really to kind of bring that back into focus. Let's go back a couple of years. What drove the push for an Alpine Vision Plan was not for the city to go tell everyone what to go do, but was to use the Small Business Development Center to facilitate a discussion amongst community members and community organizations to look and say, where are some of the areas that we could spend some effort and activity and be aligned. So when it comes to the city, the chamber, the downtown association, the university, other organizations, as they're looking at their investments, how do we go drive that in a way that makes sense? As the one who's kind of brought this together and brought it to council on a regular basis, when it was apparent that Eric was going to leave, I made a conscious decision to kind of back off and wait till we got our new city manager on board, because while the city is not the one that needs to make all the investments in this, having the city facilitate and coordinate is going to be an important element associated with this. So I thought it worthwhile just to kind of give us some background and then some thoughts about how to be able to proceed down the path. One is that we're the ones that said, hey, let's go look at some opportunities. We brought to the council a couple of years ago. The Small Business Development Center with the University of Texas at San Antonio built the plan. It was focused on improving the downtown district and tourism potential. It was done in 2016. You all seen the report, the 89-page report that came out, and it was presented at a city council about 15 months ago. There were 6 key recommendations. One was increased tourism in Alpine. Second, improve the historic buildings and encourage reuse in Alpine's downtown district. Third, develop a special event center on Farmers Market for the downtown. Fourth, enhance sidewalks and street crossings for pedestrians. Fifth, increase parking options. And sixth was to look at connecting the city. There is a workshop held, and in fact, the slide I sent out to it says held in 2016. It's actually June of last year, 17. There were some 70 people attended, and 35 signed up that they want to be continually involved and participating on 6 of those 6 specific teams. And there was an agenda was covered, for that. The actions that were taken out of that meeting in June were for council to continue to support the discussions. Second was to host more meetings of individuals who indicate want to be engaged. Third, make sure the downtown association is engaged. And the fourth is to make sure there's alignment with city management on options that come up with any budget items. And so my thought was it's probably worthwhile to pull those back together, those 35 people who want to get back together. There were some individuals who said they wanted to be leads to go pull that together. And so I think it's worthwhile to go sit down and get that lined up and pull those together. I just want to make sure the council was aware. Jessica and I are going to have a discussion. It's going to be important to make sure she's fully up to speed. But I just want to keep this as part of the ongoing dialogue, and I'll make sure it gets put on the agenda at least once a quarter, and make sure we're heading down the path. But I think it's going to be important to have a discussion with the city manager about how she wants to engage and what the approach is, particularly as we think about item number 1, which is increased tourism in Alpine. There's not only the Alpine Visitor Center, there's Alpine Downtown Association that need to be tied into that. There's hot funding that we spend. The notion about sidewalks and street crossings and parking options are also important. I know Eric had some thoughts before he left, but it's going to be important to keep the city manager up to speed and engaged as we think about the appropriate city resources. My view is we're going to have individuals invest, we'll have organizations invest, and on some occasions it's going to be important for the city to be involved because there may be some opportunities to go out for some grant money, and we've got a city manager who's got some real brain power in that area too. So anyway, that's the reason why I want to get on the table, and we'll see it in a quarter, and hopefully we'll have some additional discussion about it.
I think we need to include also add to the 35 is Charles Cameron from the Holland Hotel, because he has planned a trip into Mexico to try to increase tourism to Alpine.
Okay, great. If you give me his information, I will talk to Holland.
Yeah, I've talked to him three times. And he's able to give right now for 8 days.
Okay.
But
Mayor, to that point, Cliff Mallory, who's been working directly with the Holland, is beginning a hotel property hospitality association, and that might be a good nexus as well.
yeah, that's where we compete with the 35, correct?
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Cliff's probably a better option because Charles, God knows where he is.
Yeah, but he's devoted on this.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand that, but I mean, he's got one or two other things going on too, yeah.
Okay. As long as we get a representative. Yeah, so,
Cliff's a lot more than Charles is.
I wholeheartedly agree that the city council should take an active, supportive role for continued discussions regarding the vision plan. But we need to then also strategize on getting the word out to in the Alpine as possible. In Ward 2, I talked to some folks and said, hey, do you know about the vision plan for Alpine? What the emphasis and focus is on regarding recognizing, restructuring, and promoting downtown. And most have said no. They haven't heard about it. They don't know anything about it. They'd like more information and word on it. So, and then they're saying, well, it sounds dandy. You know, why not the outlining awards? I know they're in the plan itself. There is an emphasis to connect from downtown to the other fragments of the city, which is great. But how to get people from the residents involved so that they can help to make those connections in the future.
So by all means, I'll come to you and figure out how to go reach the folks. We've been on radio, we've been in the newspapers, we've had town hall meetings on it. So any help you can provide about how to reach residents would be super. Because the intent is to pull as many people as possible.
Sure. I can consider it weekly workshops, town hall meetings, events that are maybe hosted in Spanish, in the wards themselves.
That'd be great. Okay.
You're in a workshop, aren't you, or a town hall? Yeah. Well, I think that would be a good place to bring up.
By all means.
You're doing the Spanish first.
Well, we had a big chair.
Thank you. I think that's
Civic Center a while back, and 70 people out of 6,000 showed up.
Yeah. And the university hosted the first meeting. You know, they'll get word and pull together. So anything we do to pull together, because this is intended to be pull everyone together to go pull a plan together. This is not intended to be a city plan. It's intended to be an Alpine plan that everyone can buy into. And everyone can say, here's how I want to make an investment of my time, effort, and resources to go carry out part of that. Very good. Good. Anyway, that's all I got.
Okay, let's go with B, of Troy Shelton for building the standards for alternate for Ward 1. Councilmember Curry.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw his name out there to bring it up and maybe we could make an action on it the next meeting. If you don't put that, was it okay for someone to put on as an alternate, or if you've been, that's all that was about.
So that's the ward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know Troy. What's his background?
Is he here?
He said he's not here. He has his own construction company and he's done construction forever.
Super. Okay, you just kicked the box.
Okay.
Yeah, we normally don't object to some of the councilor wants to put on the warrants, you know. You know the ward better than, you know your ward better than we know it.
Okay.
And he's in construction.
He's in construction. That helps.
My husband works with it a lot.
Okay, let's move on. Action items to be accompanied by a brief statement of facts, including where funds are coming from, if applicable. Action items limited up to 10 per meeting. Citizens are allowed to comment limited to 3 minutes after being called upon by the mayor. Citizens are required to state their name and the ward in which they reside. Priority will be given to citizens of Alpine and those who own business or property in the city. Individuals who do not live in, own a business or property in the city limits will be allowed to speak if there is time available. Okay, we're going to move to item 8, and that's going to be council member Isabella.
First of all, I'm making a motion to discuss and consider taking action on updating the check signatures for the City of Alpine checking accounts to add Jessica, the city manager, and to possibly remove Jake.
Who else is on the signatory?
Cynthia, Daryl, and Scout.
Oh, I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote on it. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Your signature on the checks. Okay, thank you, Councilman. Okay, let's move to item number 9. Discussion and consider approving the Fiesta del Barrio request for June 30th, 2018 funding of $3,500 and additional support. Councilman Olivas.
Yes, I move that we discuss and consider hopefully for approving the Fiesta del Barrio request for a request for $3,500 for support for the next Fiesta, which is scheduled for June 30th, 2018. I received a letter from Norma Hinojosa, President Committee of the Fiesta del Barrio, and she is present today. And I won't go into detail as to what the petition is about because I don't want to take her away from the thunder. So, but the Fiesta is an event that is held annually to commemorate the July 4th festivities. It's a Fiesta, it's an event that has evolved and has grown and has now become a very important, I would say, activity that in the city of Alpine. And it's because it's an opportunity for neighbors, friends, families to come together in the afternoon of fun, children's games, food booths, art shows, music, educational displays, and arts and crafts booths. And I have, before being a councilman, I was part of the group that was working on this, and I have seen it grow, and the interest of the group and activity that's coming out of the barrio, out of Ward 2 is fantastic. And it's growing, and so with that in mind, I'll just stop and maybe pass it on to Norma if she would like to say a few more words regarding the case.
Yes, I'm Norma Hinojosa, Olivo. I like Mr. Olivas said, you know, Fiesta del Barrio just was a small little fiesta that we would have on 10th Street. And as the years have gone, it's just grown tremendously. And without the city's help, you know, we can't come through, you know, with your help, without your help. So, and Fiesta del Barrio brings not just people from Alpine, people from everywhere. They mark this day on their calendar, and every year they tell me they'll be here next year, and they'll bring more of their families, and I think as I see Fiesta del Barrio brings a lot of income into the city. You know, I know Hispanics, like they say, we have families and relatives, and we try to board everybody at their homes and let them stay there. But we have had some the Highland Inn. They're very helpful, and they bring down the prices for people that are coming for Fiesta del Barrio. And then what is this one? Best Western? No. The Hampton. They've helped us out too. And and we've had a good turnout. So, and people, we bring money into the city with groceries, people coming to the convenience stores and little things that we don't even think about what that Yesel Barrio brings into Alpine. And that's why I'm here to see if y'all can help us out this year. I know that there's another way that the city helps Yesel Barrio and all the activities. But this past year, my email was down, so I was waiting for the information through the mail, because usually it comes through the mail, the paperwork for us to fill it out and put our request for the funding. And I finally called over here and they said, no, we sent an email, and I let them know that my email was down. So my time was it expired. I wasn't able to put in all my receipts and all my information for this past year. So I went to Ramon and I asked him if he could help me out, and this is where we are now. Asking you guys to consider helping Yesel Barrio this year.
Well, it's a worthy cause, I mean, no doubt about it. I do have a couple of quick questions. Number one, this comes from hot funding, I take it, right?
Your hot fund money's already been allocated to other activities.
Oh, this is coming.
So this would be out of general fund.
Okay, then that negates the next question. Was the ban part of advertising, because there's strict requirements on how we use that? Okay.
So I'll second the motion, so we're gonna ask the question.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Sorry.
Vehicle, but
And that is, what is our source of funds for it? Well, that may be, just from a budget standpoint, what line items are coming out?
If we look creatively, if it can be said to be creatively, I noticed that each of the wards have an allotment of $4,000 assigned for training and travel to training. And hopefully that might be a reasonable area to search into. I mean, as far as Ward 2 is concerned, I don't foresee any travel and training for myself. And in the way of giving back to the barrio, I would be willing to see if money can be transferred from the Ward 2 allotment and training to the appropriate line item fund and on the budget, and that withdrawn to help support this event.
Isn't that some of that money for each ward? Isn't that for the TML, to cover the TML?
the annual convention, yes. Yeah, right.
Yes, it's allocated for travel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
travel training.
we need to look at that, whether it could be done or not.
Okay, Mayor, and the line item be changed for us to use it as we need other stuff.
I think we have to take that into consideration, really look at it and make sure we can do that. Because we do need to go with TML conference.
It's very worthwhile, and it sucks up a good half of it.
Yeah. So I think we need to look at it in that manner, because that's benefits the city in the entirety. Okay. And last year, Norman and I had talked about the same issue, and because there's no power or AC out there, so that's an additional cost. I talked to Fred Hernandez with AEP. He says we'll provide the drop from the power, but you guys have to provide the breaker box, the outlets, and all that. That's as far as we'll go. It's just with the drop. So we need to take into consideration. As I'm looking here, it shows we also request the city of Alpine to provide. What was it? They wanted us to provide the power out there also, and so that's going to be an additional expense. There it is, right there. It's running the total cost of $3,500, and the second paragraph. Part of the last sentence, it says electrical outlet equipment. Well, that has to be made permanent, and in discussion, it came up, well, it's free at Coconut. Well, it's not free because people pay rent, and that covers the cost of the electrical usage also. So I think we need to really look at all that, you know, as far as the money, the 3,500, I don't have a problem with that. It is a worthy cause stuff. You know, been out there every year since I've been here just about, or since they've had it. But we need to look at the adders that are in here also.
I stand to be corrected, but the electrical outlets, I think, that are mentioned in here are that the city, I think, was it 2 years ago, that they offered these, there are these mobiles that you connect to a 210 power line, and then that downgrades it to a 110, so that then that is fit into to the van and so forth. Those are the electric outlets, I think.
Well, I think normally you wanted the outlets at the park itself in addition to where the van is at, right?
Right,
So it's two different locations.
right. But, right now, the way we get, this going, the electricity and everything, it comes from my residence. You know, everything is coming from my residence, and two, I think the pedestals that you all offered, we have not been able to use them because of the voltage, or the hookups are different from, they don't work with what we got. We did make our own, but all the electricity comes from my residence. And we've decided to stage, the stage will be facing south. It's not coming from the park area facing north, because it works better going south, and my residence is the place where we can provide the staging for them with all the electrical use.
Like I say, I don't have a problem with the one in the 3,500. We need to look at the cost. Yes, sir.
There is in your appropriation for the hotel occupancy tax, there is a contingency line item in some 48,000. So it would be possible for you to allocate out of that contingency amount, but only for certain things. What we have, what the city has allowed for reimbursement would be for like the music under the fine arts and advertising that actually went out of the area. So, and I know most of you're running ads in the local papers and things, and there's a percentage of those ads, but it's pretty small. So, of the 3,500 that you will want for the support, only you still need more than what the council might decide to appropriate. But that is a possibility. It's from your appropriations. True, all the money was appropriated, but there is a contingency amount as you need.
Thank you. If I may, is the request for us to pay for the portable restrooms? Because we don't have a supply of portable restrooms, to my knowledge. Is that right?
Well, yes, and if not, you know, a lot of times, I do bake sales and sell T-shirts, and that brings money in for the portables. And if there's not enough money, there's people that will donate the portables. But the reason it was put down here was just in case we didn't have that, you know, and hoping that if it didn't work out for me with T-shirts, no money, or doing the fundraisers, that the city could back me up. I would have some backup for the portables.
If you could give us a price on those portables, I know they get a little pricey.
Yes.
Because when I use it for my function,
Yes.
you know, we have to pay for that, and that's a little steep. So I'd entertain somebody to make a motion, let's table it until next meeting, until we get all the logistics squared away, the cost of the portables, the electrical outlets, the meter box and all that, because we'll have to get certified electrician out there also. And then we'll look into what Chris said, possibly we need monies. What's that?
Portables are $75 for each, so.
For each one, and you'll need how many?
Well, last year I had a few more, but I found out that we don't need that many. It'll probably be about 4.
Think so.
You think I need more? Well, there was
There's a lot
some,
of beer being,
well, there's some people who told me that, you know, I get some feedback and they said, I think you had too many portables, but I think what happened, I placed them a little too far back, and the people on this side to the south didn't see those, and I just had I had 2 on the south side, you know, and the others on the north side, so.
because people are irrigating themselves out there, and they need to use those.
Yes. Well, then it was 6, a total of 6 this past year. Yes.
One of the things to consider with the travel and training thing is, especially for relatively new people, there are mandatory classes you gotta go to. Have you done those before? No, yeah. You gotta go to TML training, you gotta go to the TOMA.
I think I know why.
Yeah, you can do that too. But, you know, a lot of people prefer the face-to-face.
Well, and then also a portion of that
Yeah.
fund is being used on the town hall.
Let's get all
That's the only line item that is supposed to be for the town hall expense, so it's not a full $40,000.
So, I just want to throw that out as consideration to it. There are some laws here. What we gotta do.
Rick's never attended a TML.
Yeah, we just, I did it on my own money.
Oh.
I don't think you save money at all for travel or for stuff.
We're waiting with you in the plane next time. Okay.
You gotta save your money for that cheap house that you live in.
So I move that we consider tabling the final decision and depend upon further information to be obtained regarding the additional request made by PSF out of Britain. And next month we take up the issue and for a final decision on the approval of funding and the additional services.
Okay, motion's been made, second, any discussion?
Second.
Okay, Alvin.
Mayor, if
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
possible, I'd like to meet with Ms. Hinojos to kind of get a more itemized list
Right.
of what she's requesting assistance with, so that it'll make it easier for us to give you a better, more accurate number on what that total request is. And it'll also give Chris and I a chance to look at it to see what could be covered with hot funds, so that you'll know what's actually going to come out of general fund and then where we can get it from.
And then we could include, Councilmember will leave us in the discussion also. Any
So
more
if you want
discussion?
to, like, next week sometime, call the office for an appointment and we can work on that. Okay.
Okay, any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All those opposed, like sign, motion carries. Thank you all very much. And we'll move to the city council and their comments and answers. And we'll start with Councilmember Curry on the right.
I don't know, this is great. I'm glad everybody came up with nice discussion and nice meeting.
Thank you. Come.
On my behalf, Happy New Year. And I certainly hope that all of your wishes, desires, objectives, goals, whatever you call them, are meant for the year. And looking forward to also new activities and things to do in council.
Fast subs, funny.
Easy.
I'd like to thank everybody for showing up, especially the contingent from Ward 3. 3 of the members, Kevin, Cheryl, and my lovely wife. And hope everybody had a good holiday. We had a very busy holiday. I got to remember when I go visit my daughter, I'm 71, not 31. You know? Thank you all.
I'm glad that y'all are all here. I'm glad that our council Gonzalez is here. So I'm just going to do this. I'm glad that this is the various came up and hopefully we can do something to help y'all. And I don't think everything electronically works all the time. So I did think that we should have stuff in paper too.
True.
And I'm glad that Chris came and explained some stuff that we needed. Thank you so much.
Thanks, sir.
So happy New Year, everyone. Glad we all were able to come back, and Jessica, it's great to have you on board, and I appreciate your priorities on people and emergency services. I think that's been my assumption is we have plans in place, and clearly when we stress them, they're lined up or not. So it's good to see that I was able to fix. And she's going to be a great student. I look forward to a great year.
Thank you all for coming this evening. Chris, thank you for your insight. That probably solved her issue. Let's get her brought up. So let's look, let's get this issue resolved so we can move forward, because it is a worthwhile benefit for the city. You get a lot of tourists that go in there. I sit there and just watch people, and that's where they're from, but not out of town. So that's good. Also, City Manager, I want to thank you for taking action so quickly, coming on board and taking reins.
I didn't have a choice.
That stops with you.
Mayor, would you please also mention the TML regional board?
Yes, we're going to have a TML. TML stands for Texas Municipal League, and which we're part of. We're going to have our quarterly meeting on February the 2nd, and we're still trying to find out what the things
It'll be at Taros at the Espino.
Okay.
Convention Center.
So, and what it is, we invite other cities that are self-governed like ourselves, and we just network, exchange ideas and whatnot. And I want to thank these two ladies, because they've gone beyond trying to find the venue, trying to find the food packets, to be given to the invitees. So it's a pretty good deal. Also at the Holland is where they're gonna go to.
Chris Bruiser put that together.
Oh, Chris, you put that together?
Yeah, Chris
Yeah, and-
played a big part of it as well.
And that's where a lot of the city mayors and their council will be there also. Maybe care to go by and mingle with them, talk to them, see what they've got to say. But that'll be on Friday after our dinner and our networking at Salt Walls. But
They're all from this region too.
yeah, they're all from West Texas region. It's the as far as El Paso and what is it, Midland, Odessa, Presidio, Marfa, all those cities will come in here, and it's a pretty neat networking. We learn what other cities are doing, what issues they're having, and perhaps they can give us some resolve to our issues also. So I think some of you know this have been to them. I know Julian and
They come and spend money here too.
yeah, and that's the other thing. And they came up with a brilliant plan, is to have a golf tournament on Thursday, so they come a night ahead and spend some extra money here. So
And actually trying to push them to stay till Saturday for the Starlight Party at McDonald's Observatory, so we can keep them here hopefully 2 nights, 3 days.
it's not really costing us, huh? Yeah, hold hostage, yeah. Because everywhere we go, they do the same thing. They just
We
reciprocate.
can call it a nice room. Right?
City's alternate. City's alternate.
Yeah, so this time I volunteered our city to do it, so. No, they put it together.
I just forgot to tell us.
I forgot to tell them, right? Well, that was like 6 months ago. when
True
I started.
story,
It was.
true story. If Ward Stockton had not called to check on the date and time, I'm like, what are you talking
Yeah, that's what,
So I asked the mayor and he said, like, did you? I didn't do anything.
I blame that on age, okay?
So I called
Maria,
you
you
now.
were there at
I don't remember what happened.
the.
I called
Older
you
than
now,
young,
it's like, it's in the minutes, your mayor did this, it's in the minutes.
But anyway, it's gonna happen, thanks to our staff here, so everything will come up. Okay,
I think that's a mayor thing, because years ago, if y'all remember, Ranger volunteered Alpine, and nobody knew anything about it.
oh, hey, look, okay, I'm just following their line there.
Right, yeah.
I'm breaking it. Okay, we have no executive session. So,
I moved to adjourn.
and it's second, we're adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, council, and have a good evening. Good night.